Have you ever realized that what exhausts you the most is not that life is too hard, but the way you keep bracing yourself against it? Have you ever noticed that the more you try to control everything, the more everything seems to slip through your fingers? We are often taught that in order to overcome obstacles, we must become stronger, harder, tougher, more relentless, that we must smash the stones blocking our path. But what if the true secret to moving through life's greatest obstacles is not becoming harder, but becoming softer? Water has no muscles, no bones, no fists, and yet water can wear down stone. Water does not try to defeat the stone in battle. It quietly moves around it, patiently, persistently, gently, and in the end, it is water that remains. Perhaps what we need to learn is not how to fight life better, but how to stop resisting it in the very ways that are draining us every day. Today we will explore the strength of water, the power of softness, of surrender, of flowing with life, to understand how a person can live amid pressure, uncertainty, and constant change, and still preserve a deep inner peace that cannot easily be shaken. So many people are living like stones. On the outside they may appear strong, composed, disciplined, full of willpower, but inside they are cracking a little more each day. They force themselves to stay in control, to be certain, to be right, to win, to move faster, to prove their worth. And that tightness leaves the mind with no room to breathe. Modern life has made people addicted to the feeling of control, addicted to predicting, arranging, planning, addicted to the idea that everything must follow their design. We want work to unfold exactly as expected. We want others to respond the way we hope. We want the body to stay healthy forever. We want relationships to remain easy. We want the future to hold no surprises. We want life to remain stable, according to the image the ego has drawn. But life has never operated according to the wishes of one small self. Life is like a river. It flows, it changes direction, it rises, it dries, it carries fertile soil, and it also carries broken branches, fallen leaves, and stones we never invited. Suffering begins the moment we demand that the river stop flowing simply because we do not like where it is going. Exhaustion begins when we build walls in front of the water and call that strength. There are people who spend years resisting a truth that has already happened. They resist the past. They resist a sentence that was already spoken. They resist a relationship that has changed. They resist an opportunity that has been lost. They resist the fact that they are aging. They resist the fact that other people do not understand them. They resist the reality that life does not owe them a perfect outcome. Every day they wake up carrying an invisible war in the mind. The body still sits there, still works there, still speaks and smiles there, but deep inside is a constant friction between what is and what they insist should be. And that friction is what wears them down. Try to imagine yourself standing in a strong current. If you tense your whole body, hold yourself rigid, and refuse to let the water move you, you will become exhausted very quickly. Every muscle tightens. Your breathing shortens. Your mind panics. And before long, you will fall. But if you understand how to relax, how to move with the current, how to lean at the right moment, how to step aside when needed, how to release force at the right time, then you no longer feel as though you are battling an entire river. Life is the same. We do not collapse only because the difficulty is great. More often, we collapse because we resist what cannot be forced. Many times, it is our rigidity that shatters us, not the circumstances themselves. People today are strangely proud of being busy. They treat constant exhaustion, pressure, and overwhelm as proof of value. They call it effort, devotion, ambition, living fully. But there is a deep truth that many are afraid to face. Not all stress is noble, and not all effort is wise. Some forms of striving are nothing more than blind resistance. Some efforts are simply the ego refusing to accept reality. There are days when we are not tired because we did too much, but because we did everything with an inner state that was far too tense. We were not just working. We were worrying, fearing, comparing, proving, regretting, blaming, resenting, the fact that things were not unfolding the way we wanted. In that state, even a small task becomes heavy. Much of the exhaustion in life does not come from the amount of work, but from the energy that gets drained by inner resistance. You may do 10 things and remain peaceful if your mind is soft, and you may do only one thing and feel depleted if your mind is constantly arguing with reality. That is why some people live with packed schedules and still carry a quiet lightness, while others are not especially busy and yet still feel suffocated. The difference is not only in the circumstances. It lies in how they exist inside those circumstances. One person tries to force life to obey. Another learns how to read the current and move with it wisely. The ancients gave this state many names. In Taoist thought, it is called wu-wei, not doing nothing, but not acting through force, not moving from blind resistance, not interfering violently with the natural rhythm of life. Wu-wei is not passivity, and it is certainly not weakness. It is action without egoic struggle. It is action in harmony with timing, circumstance, pattern, and truth. Water is the most beautiful image of Wu-wei. Water does not declare war on stone. Water does not feel a need to prove its power. Water does not become angry when it meets an obstacle. It simply continues being water. It looks for a way through. It shifts form. It is soft in one moment, powerful in another. It can be mist, rain, stream, waterfall, ocean, vapor. It does not cling to one fixed shape in order to protect a self-image. And because it is not trapped in the need to remain one thing, it can go anywhere. Human beings suffer greatly because they insist on preserving a fixed shape of themselves. I must succeed in this way. I must be seen in that way. My life must unfold along this exact path. This person must love me the way I expect. My body must remain as healthy as before. My family must stay as peaceful as I imagined. The future must be secure before I can relax. We cling to these inner images as though our survival depends on them. But the more tightly we cling, the more we suffer. Because life is always moving. Life does not promise to preserve what you cherish. Life does not promise to reward effort immediately. Life does not promise a path without stones. And when the ego demands that life match its picture, every small change becomes a shock. Softness is not collapse. Softness is the ability to change form without losing essence. Softness is knowing how to step back so the soul does not have to break. Softness is understanding that there are battles not worth fighting, words not worth answering, people not worth convincing, doors that close not so you can hit them harder, but so you can turn and see another way. Water is not weak because it does not pierce the stone instantly. The strength of water lies in the fact that it does not waste energy trying to become something against its own nature. Water does not need to become a hammer. It only needs to remain faithful to its flowing nature, and that is what makes it more enduring than every obstacle. In everyday life, we often misunderstand the meaning of letting go. We think letting go means giving up, surrendering, losing ambition, abandoning ourselves to fate. But in this deeper sense, letting go means releasing rigidity, releasing useless resistance, releasing the need to control everything, releasing the fixed image of how things must unfold. Letting go does not mean no longer caring. It means still walking forward, but with an unclenched heart. It means still making an effort, but not tormenting yourself over every result. Still loving, but not squeezing the life out of others. Still having direction, but not panicking when life leads you down a different road. If we look more deeply, the greatest stones on our path are often not outside us. They are within us. They are the pride that does not allow us to be wrong. They are the expectations that make us suffer when life does not comply. They are the fear of being judged that keeps us obsessed with our image. They are the belief that if we do not stay tense, we will be swallowed whole. They are the ego that wants to win even in situations where no one truly wins. They are the habits of reacting, resisting, arguing, and defending because the ego experiences every friction as a threat. External stones merely block our path, but the internal stones harden us. and that hardness steals our ability to move with life. Take a moment and ask yourself what stones you are carrying right now. Is it pride that will not let you accept criticism? Is it expectation that makes you disappointed in life itself? Is it an image of success borrowed from society which you now use to punish yourself? Or is it comparison that steals your peace even when you are doing well? Is it an old story you keep repeating in your mind, refreshing your pain every day? Is it the refusal to accept that you are in a season of transition, so you keep forcing yourself to have all the answers immediately? These stones do not disappear just because we want them gone, but once we see them, we can stop identifying with them. We can stop believing that we are our fear, our failure, our expectations, our wounds. We are simply carrying them, and the one who carries them is far wider than they are. A clear stream does not argue with dry leaves that fall onto its surface. It does not hold on to them. It does not remain muddy forever because of a little dirt. It keeps flowing, and through its continued movement, it naturally clears itself. The human mind is the same. When the mind clings to every collision, every sentence, every irritation, every disappointment, we cease to be a stream. We become a stagnant pond holding everything. Then we wonder why we feel heavy. You do not need to force yourself to always be positive. You do not need to pretend you are not hurt, angry, or sad, but you can learn to let emotions pass through without building them a permanent home in your heart. When anger comes, notice it. When sadness comes, notice it. When disappointment comes, notice it. Do not deny it, but do not become it. That is the first step toward making the mind soft like water. A rigid ego always demands protection. It hears feedback and feels insulted. It meets difficulty and calls life unfair. It gets rejected and concludes it has no worth. It loses control and falls into panic, because that ego has tied its peace to the demand that life must behave according to its wishes. But a soul that knows how to soften is different. It is not naive, it is not weak. It still sees the wound, the truth, the pain, but it does not turn everything into a story about itself. It does not transform every stone into an identity crisis. It simply asks, what direction is the current inviting me to move in now? That is such an important question. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is the least resistant but still truthful path from here? Instead of asking, how do I force this person to change? Ask, how can I change the way I respond so that I do not lose my peace? Instead of asking, how do I make everything go back to the way it was? Ask, what new opening is life revealing by closing this door? Instead of asking, why am I not getting what I wanted? Ask, what in me has become too rigid to adapt? Just by changing the question, the energy of life begins to shift. You move from resistance to observation, from clenching to listening, from blind struggle to intelligent adjustment. Let us speak about work. So many people treat career as a place where they must win at all costs. When they fail, when they are undervalued, when they are passed over, when they lose an opportunity, they immediately feel as though life has rejected their entire worth. So they push harder, work more, run faster, while inside they become more empty. But sometimes what is needed is not to hit the locked door harder. Sometimes what is needed is to step back and realize you have been knocking on the wrong door. Some jobs are no longer right for the stage of growth you are in. Some goals were once true but have now become too small for you. Some failures are not meant to humiliate you but to redirect you. Water does not stand in front of the stone and complain. It looks for another route. A person who understands how to flow with life does the same. They do not see changing direction as failure. They see it as wisdom. This does not mean that every difficulty is a sign to quit. Not at all. Flowing around a stone is not giving up. It is strategy. You are still moving toward your destination. You are simply no longer trying to get there by slamming yourself into what is breaking you. Sometimes you need to learn rather than resent. Sometimes you need to slow down rather than prove yourself. Sometimes you need to build a new foundation rather than mourn an old position. Sometimes you need rest in order to recover, and that is not laziness. Sometimes you need to accept that one opportunity has passed so another more fitting one can emerge. Water is never stubborn about one route, because its purpose is to keep flowing, not to defend the ego of an old path. The same is true in relationships. So much suffering comes from wanting others to match the picture we have created in our minds. We want them to understand us without our speaking. We want them to love us in exactly the way we prefer. We want them to heal the emptiness inside us. We want them to respond with maturity even when they themselves are still wounded. And when they cannot, we become disappointed, hurt, angry, and either hold on tighter or lash out harder. But the more we try to force a person into the shape we prefer, the more friction we create. Love does not grow through force. Real connection does not come through control. Sometimes the wisest thing in a relationship is to stop trying to win, stop trying to be right, stop trying to remake the other person, and instead learn how to listen, learn how to speak your needs gently, learn how to accept differences that cannot be erased. Some conflicts are worth sitting down to resolve. Some misunderstandings deserve clarification. But some tensions only grow because both egos insist on becoming stone. No one softens. No one yields. No one pauses long enough to breathe before replying. One sharp sentence becomes 10 painful ones. One small issue becomes a deep and lasting crack. If even one person knows how to become water, everything can change. This does not mean tolerating everything. It does not mean swallowing all your pain. It means being steady enough not to react from wounded instinct, spacious enough not to turn every disagreement into a battlefield, clear enough to discern what must truly be addressed and what simply needs to pass. Many relationships do not die because the problem is too large. They die because the people in them never learn the art of softening at the right moment. Then there are the changes of the body and health. This is one of the places where the ego resists most fiercely. When we are young, we think the body will always obey. We think we can keep staying up late, keep pushing ourselves, keep ignoring the signs of fatigue. But one day the body speaks. It may come as back pain, insomnia, anxiety, burnout, a difficult diagnosis, or a decline we can no longer deny. At that point, many people panic, become angry, blame fate, blame the body for betraying them. But your body did not betray you. It simply began telling the truth after years of not being heard. What does it mean to become water in such a season? It means that instead of fighting the fact that you have changed, you learn how to cooperate with the body you now have. You learn a more suitable rhythm. You learn to rest without shame. You learn to care rather than punish. You learn that your worth does not depend on always being as strong as before. Water is never ashamed of changing form. Only the ego feels shame when it no longer matches its old self-image. But true maturity means accepting that some seasons of life are not meant for acceleration. Some seasons are meant only for healing, reordering, adjusting your breath, and looking honestly at what you have neglected. If you keep trying to live in the old way while life has already moved into a new season, you will always feel torn in two. One part of you knows you need to slow down. Another part of the ego screams that slowing down means losing, and that inner war hurts more than the challenge itself. A person who knows how to move with the current is not a person without goals. They simply do not worship a single path. They understand that the destination may remain while the method changes. They understand that sometimes progress happens through action, sometimes through patience, sometimes through silence, and sometimes through release. They do not cling to the belief that only constant force, constant urgency, and constant pressure can make life move. They know that a seed cannot bloom faster because you pull it out of the soil. They know that a relationship cannot deepen just because you demand more from it. They know the mind cannot become peaceful because you try to force it to stop thinking. Some things open only when placed in the right conditions, the right rhythm, the right season. So how do we practice the strength of water in daily life? We begin in very small moments. When something goes wrong, instead of tightening immediately, pause for a moment. Breathe in slowly. Breathe in slowly. Exhale fully. Ask yourself, am I reacting to reality or to my ego? Is what hurts most here the event itself or the feeling of losing control? That question alone creates space between you and your old reaction. And that space is where wisdom begins. Water can flow because it does not freeze inside reaction. Neither must you. Another practice is learning to distinguish between what can be influenced and what must be accepted. So many people spend nearly all their life energy trying to control what lies outside their reach, what others think, the past that has already happened, the weather of life, the larger movement of fate, the impermanence of the body, the changing heart of another person. Meanwhile, they neglect the region of true power, how they see, how they breathe, how they respond, how they care for the mind, how they set boundaries, how they continue walking. Water does not try to control the shape of the stone. It remains faithful to its own movement. That is a profound freedom. Another essential practice is letting go of the need to solve everything immediately. Some answers only arrive when the mind becomes quiet enough. Some directions reveal themselves only after panic subsides. Some conflicts settle only when we stop feeding them with more energy. Modern people are deeply afraid of uncertainty. They want answers now, conclusions now, certainty now. But life is not a problem that can always be solved by speed. Some sections of the river must be entered slowly in order to see the hidden rocks. Some decisions must be slept on before the deeper voice of the heart can be heard. If you rush into everything with the mindset that it must be resolved quickly, you are not living like water. You are living like a hammer. And a hammer does not travel well through places that require tenderness. Softness also requires trust, not the blind trust that everything will always be easy, but the deeper trust that you can move through this without losing yourself. Trust that a detour is not the end. Trust that slowing down is not failure. Trust that losing an old identity may be the very thing that reveals your true essence. Trust that the present moment, though imperfect, still contains a path. When trust is lost, the ego immediately wants to tighten its grip. When trust is present, you are soft enough to keep going without panic. Perhaps the most beautiful thing about water is that it carries no grudge. It moves through dirty places without deciding to become mud forever. It strikes the stone without nursing resentment. When blocked, it gathers itself and eventually overflows. It does not forget its nature simply because the conditions are difficult. This is a profound lesson for the soul. You may have walked through things that were unfair. You may have been misunderstood, betrayed, abandoned, underestimated, stripped of what you treasured. But if you hold all of that as the definition of who you are freezing yourself. The painful event may be the stone, but turning it into your identity is what stops the current. Healing is not denying the wound. Healing is allowing life to keep flowing through that wound instead of freezing around it. A person who lives like water often does not appear loud or dramatic, but there is a great inner power within them. They do not always need to prove themselves. They do not panic in the face of change. They understand that some things become more distant the more you chase them, and some things slip away the tighter you grip them. They do what needs to be done, but do not create extra suffering because the result has not yet arrived. They listen more than they react. They can change plans without feeling humiliated. They can apologize without feeling diminished. They can rest without calling themselves weak. They can release a relationship that has run its course without needing to turn the other person into a villain. They can begin again without shame. This is a very different kind of strength from the one the world often glorifies, but it is the kind of strength that keeps a human being from breaking during the harsher seasons of life. When you choose to live this way over time, you begin to notice a profound inner shift. The mind is no longer as noisy as before. You are less easily dragged into unnecessary battles. You still hurt when difficult things happen, but you do not shatter so easily. You still feel sadness, but sadness no longer swallows all of you. You still have goals, but those goals no longer become a prison for the ego. You begin to feel more space inside. And from that space, creativity arises, clarity arises, compassion arises. You begin to see solutions where you once saw only dead ends. You begin to hear intuition where there was once only noise. You move through change with a new kind of steadiness, not because life has become lighter, but because you no longer turn everything into war. Unshakable peace is not a state in which nothing touches you. It is a state in which things still touch you but do not easily sweep you away, like a deep river. The surface may ripple with the wind, but the depth beneath remains still. A shallow life needs outer conditions to be calm before peace can exist. A life with inner depth is different. Such a person still makes every effort to do what can be done. But their peace does not depend entirely on life behaving exactly as they wish, because they understand something very important. Real power does not lie in making the world contain fewer stones. Real power lies in learning how to flow past the stones without losing your clear and living essence. Perhaps right now you are standing before some stone of your own. A career that feels blocked, a relationship that feels tired, anxiety about money, a change in health, fear of the future, a question with no answer yet. You may have tried for a long time. You may already be very tired. You may have blamed yourself many times, but perhaps what you need is not more pressure. Perhaps what you need is to stop and ask, am I trying to break something that I only need to flow around? Am I turning an obstacle into an ego battle that does not need to exist? Am I being too hard on myself, on others, on the timing of life? And if the answer is yes, then you do not need to change everything overnight. Just become a little softer. Breathe a little deeper. Stop arguing with reality quite so much. Stop forcing yourself to have all the answers right now. Stop carrying what is already over quite so tightly. That alone is enough for the current to begin changing direction. Remember, water does not overcome by rushing. Water overcomes because it never stops flowing. You do not need to become an entirely different person in one night. You only need to remain faithful to the softness you are learning day by day. Today, soften around a small disappointment. Tomorrow, soften around a judgment. Another day, soften around a plan that changes. And gradually you will find that what once set you on fire now feels like only a ripple. What once kept you stuck for months becomes only a bend in the road. You are not becoming weaker. You are becoming harder to break. Because what is too rigid often snaps. But what knows how to bend can travel very far. If life is a great river, then the present moment is the only place where you can truly place your hand upon the water. Not tomorrow. Not when everything becomes perfect. Not when someone finally understands you. Not when every fear disappears. Right now, in this breath. In this decision not to resist uselessly. In this act of becoming gentler with yourself. The current of the present moment always carries a quiet kind of wisdom, but only when we become less noisy can we hear it. Only when we stop being stone can we begin to understand water. And perhaps the real miracle is not that life finally becomes easy, but that you finally learn how to live through difficulty without inflicting further harm on yourself. Perhaps peace is not waiting on some distant shore, but already hidden in the way you move through today's curves. Perhaps the deepest strength is not in gripping tighter, but in the capacity to open into acceptance, to open into adaptation, to open into listening, to open into continuing on without carrying so much of yesterday's hardness. So if today you are tired because life is not unfolding as you wished, remember the water. Water does not fight the stone. Water does not break itself on every obstacle. Water does not need to shout in order to prove its strength. Water simply flows, quietly, steadily, gently. And because of that, It reaches places that hardness never can. May you choose to live that way from this moment forward. Less resistance, less forcing, less fear, less clinging, and in their place, an inner life that knows how to breathe, how to soften, how to move around what cannot be broken, how to be still when needed, and how to keep flowing through every season of your life. And before we close, I want to leave you with one deep question in your life right now. What is the stone you no longer need to break, but only need to learn how to flow around? Hold that question in your heart tonight. Because sometimes a single change in perspective is enough to open an entirely new path. If this video touched something in you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future reflections on wisdom, meditation, inner peace, and the transformative power of timeless teachings. And please share this video with someone who is exhausted from trying to control everything. Perhaps they, too, need to rediscover the soft strength of water. You can also leave this sentence in the comments: I choose to flow instead of resist. Let that be a beautiful reminder to yourself, starting today. And remember, in the next video, we will explore an even deeper truth. There are things that move farther away the more you chase them. Yet when you become still in the right way, they begin to find their way back to you. Sometimes the secret of happiness is not in grasping for more, but in knowing how to release at the right moment. I will see you in the next part of the journey.